I am very, very pleased to introduce my dear friend, Bianca Moncada. She has been a partner in crime for a number of years, and I'm really, really pleased to see the way her career has grown. She'll be presenting on collaborative leadership and creative partnership, representing her company, Dharma, with bases in Miami and Mexico City. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you, Laura. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Well, first of all, I want to thank, if you want to put in my,
Can we get her slide?
yeah.
Kill my mic.
I want to thank Laura because we've come a long way. She's seen me since I was very young, and we worked together in various award shows for many, many years. And so thank you, Laura. And what you're doing is wonderful for the community, for all the video people out there. And I'm very, very glad how this has been growing. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I try to make this presentation very easy to understand because I want to try to reach like the new generation. There's video people tend to be very techy, and when we get together, we just love to be more techy, But in particular, I feel that when you're out of university and you're just graduating, or you're a minority and you're somewhere in the world and you're watching, the one thing that you want to try to learn, at least when I was young, is how do I get there? How do they do it, The tech part will definitely is very important, but I think a lot of people don't discuss so much on how and the workflows, So I was born in Venezuela, as you can see, my accent. Now I live in Miami. I mentioned I was born in Venezuela because it is very important to me the fact that all Latin countries, of course, are not the same, but my city and the country that I come from is very, very small. It's only 1 million and something people. And when I started to like this world of video and graphics, Venezuela doesn't have any award shows, not even one. Venezuela doesn't have famous tours like Mexico, for example, that, the big tours go over there. So I had literally no reference whatsoever. All I knew is that I was very young and I had something, perhaps now it's called HDHD or something, some name, but back then I was just very graphic, mentally, visually. All I can see, everything in a very graphic way. So when I started, there was no career for animation or anything like that. So I started studying administration because there was nothing in graphics or video other than just being an artist. So 2 years go by and they open up graphic design. So I was like, all right, at least something. It has nothing to do with the show business or anything, but at least it's something that I can relate to. So I studied graphic design, and then there was a point in the career where they talked a little bit about Flash. Nobody uses Flash anymore, but and web pages, and that's what I saw, animation. So I was like, oh, I love this, So I definitely got engaged, and I started researching, from back home. So that was very young. I've always been very driven and very passionate person. So in my mind, I was, very secure that I wanted to get somewhere with this. So I started VJing when I was out of, in between college and out of college. So I did a lot of VJing, and I think the first thing that started with me was that every show that we did, since there's no big award shows or big tours, I took it like if it was the Grammys. So that was very me. I had the workflow, the way that I would set up, the way that I would talk to everybody. And a lot of people would be like, it's just a festival in a small town, But in my mind, I'm like, I'm training. I'm training because I know that this is gonna work for me in the future. So I think that was the first thing I did. Don't take for granted any opportunity, even if it's the small theater back home when you're studying, don't take for granted. It's gonna work somehow. It's gonna give you value. If it doesn't give you curriculum at the moment, but at the end, it's gonna give you experience, and it's going to give you security. Of course, being in a foreign country and being in another language was tough. I went to high school in New York because my mom took us to New York to learn English. So we were to stay 1 year, and we ended up staying 5. So I got to study high school there, so thank God. That's why I have my English. But I went to New York. So being in New York, and looking Times Square and being close to that, I would remember to go to Barnes & Nobles and get, books from award shows, tourings, and just read about it. And knowing that all of the little details that it was exaggeration back at home, they're real, and they do it in the big shows, So I went back home, and I studied my career there. I didn't stay in New York to study my career. And I think everything happens for a reason. To me, that was very nice because it made me value a lot, where I come from. So what you see here is me as a VJ in festivals. And what you see in the center is that the only televised broadcast major event in Venezuela at the time, and I think even up till now, was the Miss Venezuela pageant. At the end, 2 big artists will come in, 2 big Latin artists, and that will be the big show. So people will prepare almost 6 to 8 months before the show. So I got my big gig. And the first thing that I saw was I can't do this with a laptop, even though I have 2 already set up because one is going to die and the other one's going to start. No time code, so everything was manually. So I was prepared, but I said to myself, no, we need to make this better, and we need to bring in a server. So I was talking Chinese to them, and of course, money. They were like, what? What's a server? And no, run it the way you need to run it, and with a laptop or whatever. So back then, I found a sponsor for Martin. I don't remember the name, Maxidia, the server back then. And they allow us to demo it, but I used the demo time to run the show. So that was me running with the big show. But to me, what I keep is that it was the first time that a show was ever ran with a server in my country, and to me that was very special, and it still is up to now. So then I knew that, since I was little, I always used to take all of the big shows, in my school, like the Mother's Day, Father's Day, those were my productions. So I would lay out my calendar and would mark those days, okay, these are the productions, and I was a very bad student, I gotta say, very bad. My concentration, reading, and it's just very, not easy. One thing that I learned was color coding. So that helped me a lot. But these little productions, made me realize that, I like video, I love video, but I love the overall. I like, wardrobe, set design, then the work pops up, creative director. Oh my God, I would love to be a creative director someday. But for sure, to get there, you need to know a lot of areas before you actually, call yourself a creative director. So I passed in the United States when I came. I had the opportunity with one producer that liked my style, and I was very organized with all the elements, and she gave me the opportunity to be an art director for one of Nickelodeon series. And then they really liked my work ethic, and then they gave me the job of production designer. So I had this humongous opportunity. I built a big team from art department to wardrobe team to all of that, and it went up to 7 volumes, so 7 seasons. So it was very, very nice, and I got to do 3 of them. So to me, in my brain, in my visual brain, it was just check. I know a little bit of set design, I know a little bit of art direction, and I know a little bit about wardrobe design. So, and of course, video is my passion, and it was always going to be. So. When I went to school of graphic design, this is how my brain works. This is how, currently nowadays, these are the basics of principles of design. So from balance to contrast, emphasize movement, unity, white space, and to color, of course, all of the basics in colors. So if you're out there, and I think if you relate to my personality and you're passionate about what you want to pursue, I think whatever you study is always going to help you out. Graphic design helped me a lot to use those basic elements and to see nowadays and always all the productions. If it was a series like the Nickelodeon ones, my canvas was those little boxes where we build each set. So those layers and that composition, I need to have a balance. So between colors, the elements, the construction, it will always give you that result. So these are like, what keeps close to my heart because this is my everyday and how it really helped me a lot, even coming from a career that had nothing to do with animation at the moment. All right, so picking up a little bit more on how my brain works and how I see things on a stage. So to me, nowadays, every stage or every area where we're gonna build a show, it's a canvas. It's a white canvas. And yes, my favorite layer, I would say, of course, is video, and my background is video. But to me, the way I see it, it's just a bunch of layers that we need to, again, if I go back, we need to contrast, balance, emphasize, or make movement. You pick. Each show is different, right? So to me, every time I learn something new, perhaps I add a little layer to this because, ooh, automation, okay, that's another one that I need to know. But in my brain, it's just another layer to know that I need to play with as a creative director. So, you got your artist, of course, which is the most important. And then you have the band, you have, of course, the DJ or the chorus, whatever, dancers, actors, or extras. It could be from theater, so this could be not just in award shows or performances or tours. Then we have lighting, nowadays, of course, lasers, LED fixtures, and on and on, We have props, we probably have like dancers props or giant props, soft goods, scenic elements. Then we have special effects, we have pyro, and then now we have rigged elements that are also part of the composition and they're very important, and that depends on the budget. And then, of course, we have our base, risers, decks, and lifts. So to me, and this is the way that I always saw it, at the end of the day, it's another composition. Maybe the difference is that in every show, I'm not gonna get to start from scratch and build it the way I want it. Most of the shows that we do, because we're just one little part, perhaps I'm just video, that stage is already made. Some other creative director already gave you a canvas. So it's a canvas that's already made, but I still have to tell a story on it. So it's important for me to know what my tools are, So every show is different canvas and a different composition. So this is how my brain works. So you could have probably, dancers or stairs or just lighting, maybe no video. Of course, sometimes, we have more elements. The more the merrier, of course. We have video, we have lights, we have all the toys, right? But then going back to my roots, which I think is always helpful to me, even if you don't have all the necessary resources, and this will be my little town probably set up with instead of LED screens, it was monitors, just like this one, 3 of them. And I would set up if I was setting up for Taylor Swift, you know what I mean? It was the same way. So, but if you give it a twist, creativity is free. So, we have monitors? Okay, how many do you have? Oh, we can get you 10. Okay, great. Let me just group them. Maybe that will give you a bolder picture, Maybe that will give you something. Taste is free. Creativity is free. So there's no excuse, So this is a good example how, this is our basic setup, but if you put your brain to it, it could become something bolder, nicer, and it could create a nice picture. That's exactly what creative direction is on a stage. It's nothing, no Chinese. So, hopefully the new generations, get to understand that, yes, it sounds easy, but you need to know the basics on all areas, because that's the only way that you're gonna go to any of these layers and talk with proper and explain what you wanna, what you wanna add. Creativity can have any background. A lot of people have choreography background, and it's very related to creative direction. I had video background, and currently we do creative direction with a video background, you know? And it is, of course, my lethal weapon, for sure, because, you know, video is always gonna be part of it. But it's also important to know all the layers and all the areas and how they function, at least the basic. You don't need to know much, you know? Okay, so it's nowadays. So Dharma. I joined Dharma in 2014. I met my current husband there, which is the founder of Dharma, which is Rodrigo Proal. He's probably watching. Hi, Rodrigo. And so yes, so basically I think we just had a similar mindset. Dharma was founded in Mexico City, but it was transitioning to Miami, and we were opening up the offices in Miami. But I think it was the same values, you know, how you don't take for granted any opportunity, and you work really hard and passionate for each show, right? So currently my position will be creative show director and video content designer and producer. Why I keep both? Because you have to keep humble. A lot of people, when they transition to positions, they want to forget, or they don't even want to be mentioned, and like, no, I don't do this anymore. That's like if you get into lighting design, but you're really a programmer or something. To me, it's okay, you know, and there's shows that were hired just to do video. I wish every show were hired to do full creative direction, but we're not. So every time we're just hired to do the specifics like, you know, screen production or screen direction. I enjoy it very much because you learn every day, there's something new to learn. A little bit about Dharma. Award-winning production design and creative show direction powerhouse. A lot of people ask us, what do you guys do? Yes, a lot of people don't know. We are a one-stop shop. We do screens and media playback hardware solutions. We do visuals designs and video programming. We do lighting design and programming. We do art direction and props design. We do set design and scenic construction. We do wardrobe design and choreography design. You would say so much into one house. The one thing about Dharma is that our team has been together for many, many years. We basically grew together. I think the least people that are in Dharma are, like, I would say 6-7 years. There's people in Dharma that have grown from high school to college to being with us. So the company has 17 years, and there's people that have the 17 years. So I think when you create a nice environment and you are always willing to grow technically, I think people relate to being part of something. So that's definitely our motto, and I feel that looking at the future of humanity, I think we need a little bit more about that, you know? Dharma is the opposite of karma, so it's a good things in life. And yes, we're a little bit romantic. At the end of the day, most of us are Latinos, so, you know, you gotta keep it real. These are some of the clients that, you know, we're proud to still have and work on. And, all right, technology and design have always been part of our creative process to bring different emotions to the audience. We technically develop ideas to deliver unique results. We design, develop, and deliver. That's our motto. I think a lot of you don't know, but a little detail, technical detail about Dharma and its video background. So Dharma was the first, you probably all know these guys, right? Of course. So Dharma was the first studio worldwide to run D3. So that's something that we keep to our heart, because from there, we've seen it evolve. We've been part of the process of, you know, developing, you know, breaking it, suggesting things. When we got to people that didn't do video, but that were doing lighting, joining with Sock Puppet, I think we were the first ones to use Sock Puppet with Laura. But we're a timeline team, so we've always used these guys as a timeline. But not only that, we also brought a little sauce to the table. We use the software as a software. We don't really call it a server even. It's part of our creative workflow. So say we're hired to do graphics, we don't really accept the job. We only do it if we're involved in programming as well. Because the way that we've used the system is we've developed workflows that work for the time frame for the specific show, especially when we get into the big leagues or big award shows, that work specifically to take advantage of the brilliant software that this guys is. So it's not uploaded playback, nothing against it, but we've used the system, and our team has developed a lot of workflows and ways to work with this wonderful tool for many years now to use it as a design tool. Kind of when nowadays people use Notch, and we use Notch as well, but you see now designers evolving one like, maybe it's an alternative to After Effects. Well, we've had that relationship with these guys since day one. So yeah, we're very proud because it was we were back in Mexico back then, and I remember, Rodrigo just saw them in a trade show, and basically like nobody was really know these guys were D3 at the time, and he's like, this is going to be important in the future, and he believed in it, and he invested, and we haven't. Right now, it's not really an option; it's part of our workflow. So yeah, that's a little detail about our strong video background. Things that I would like to mention in general and to leave some takeaways, I guess. Take technical risks. Don't be afraid to break the mold. Work with the new technology, even if there are beta versions, important, because a lot of these softwares or hardwares, they work really, really hard to get stuff out there. And sometimes it's comfortable to, say, oh, this doesn't work, I'm not gonna use it anymore because it doesn't work. If we are the community of video people, we need to go and break things. We need to go and push the boundaries and, push the technology out there. So don't be afraid of, hey, if you use something that is not 100%, be patient. You're probably part of something even bigger, because if that evolves, you were part of it from the beginning, and that's special. And then, of course, define workflows per project. Dharma is known for many, many, many workflows because Rodrigo is head engineering design, and he's very believe of workflows and methods. So not all the shows are the same. I think somebody yesterday was mentioning like, oh, I'm in the middle of the show and then the lights go off and the union. In my brain, automatically, I was like, oh, that would be definitely on our third checklist on analyzing that workflow for that show. Like, we already know, and we already have a plan of like, okay, maybe even if we have to have, that part of the workflow being done remotely somewhere, even if we need to put another studio standby near the venue, like solutions, millions. And that's part of our sauce as well. Like, you already have the opportunity. You're not gonna drop a show. Doesn't mean that you're not gonna sleep, but you need to take advantage of the workflows and prepare before the show. Prepare for even knowing the flaws of the show or the restrictions, like union and time, of the venue. So yeah, always choose creativity over fear, because, when you're using a new software, when, for example, the pandemic and everybody wanted to use virtual production, and, there's always like the different ways, and you can pick and choose AR, VR, XR. Of course, you probably know which one we picked, right? We picked extended reality. Why not? The true extended reality. Nothing against virtual production, but yes, we picked extended reality. So Dharma in Miami, we founded a studio called the XR Stage. And so it's a studio like this one, like the XR Studios. Actually, we were at the same time opening up, so we have 3 years now. And we still use it nowadays. It's just another tool for us, another layer for my brain that we can use. So, of course, in the pandemic, we used it a lot, many times. Then after the pandemic went away, it's a reality that for broadcast, which is Dharma's, forte, wasn't really so much of like the producers wanted to do in something virtually or remotely. That's a reality, right? And we don't do so much of film or like series. So we were like, how can we make this work? So we created workflows. So for like the Latin billboards, I think it was like 2 years ago, what we did is like, so we did intros in XR and then matching transitions to our stage. And the producer was like, I like that because I can have some of that great technology, but then, I want my artists here because, that's I'm over the pandemic and not seeing them and not engaging with my audience in the venue. So, again, developing workflows and using creativity. And of course, I'm going to show you, I brought 3 projects to show you. I try to show you 3 different projects, but I'm going to focus on video. Out of all the services, I'm going to focus on video so, we can show you a little bit of the differences between each project. So talking about risks, our first project that I want to show you is an XR project that we did for the Olympics. All right, so this was a sports network in Mexico City that, of course, wanted to use XR. So we had to transfer our studio from Miami to Mexico City and set it up at the studio, at the network. To go fully live when a technology was very, very new and, with a lot of details. Of course, it was a challenge, and yes, it is in our blood, we love it, so we were like, okay, we have to just plan to push this, so that way we can push forward the technology and especially educate, the clients in general that this exists and this can be used. So when I say details in workflow, I mean even making sound normal, a stop in the shooting and saying, we're going to calibrate now, and having the talent, oh, yeah, that's part of the workflow. They know. It's not like, oh, we need to calibrate because it's not working, We made it normal. We made the producer, and we adapted. We adapted to a normal production and then included a lot of the details in XR production. So that had our executive producers opened to, I don't even know how you eat that technology, but it's working out. You guys are making it work out. We knew the flaws, we knew the restrictions, but we analyzed how much time do we have to go live every time. We have the morning show, we have the noon show, and we have the afternoon show, the late night show, basically. So we had certain things that we needed to accomplish every time we had that drop between shows. And we made that very normal, even including the talent. So they didn't feel like, even the sessions with these guys, the many sessions with these guys online, of course there's that, discussing on how can we fix things or how can we make things better. But it was 18 days running nonstop. We also did a second stage right next to the main stage with regular screens, and we matched some of the content so that way we had like a normal setup, just in case everything completely failed and we couldn't use the XR. Thank God that never happened because all of the other workflows worked out pretty well. But that's also part of the solution. If that doesn't work, you need to make it, normal and smooth for the client. So, so this is the afternoon show, how it looked like. I think probably some of you saw this with our partners at Roy. Roy is another one of our partners I'll mention in a little bit. And of course, these guys. So this was afternoon show. This is a sample of the night show. So basically what we did was a city of, like the brand Azteca was like taking over Tokyo at night, day, and afternoon. So I have a little video. Hopefully this plays. I'm gonna try. Yeah, so that was a little bit of our first big live, and I think it hasn't been done yet still. So we love to keep that because we were, we had the courage to do it, but again, it's a big team of professionals, and the same mindset is just, push forward and you choose creativity over fear. So this is just in general. Workflows, communication, methodology, and passion. I think these are the 4 main keys in every single project that we do. We just adapt this formula to every single show. Every single show. I had 2 other shows that I want to quickly show you, just pictures for you to see. So this is touring. We basically did the full production design from set design, lighting design, full setup, content design. So this is a Latin artist called Daddy Yankee and his world tour. And yeah, a detail that also a lot of people don't know, Dharma owns screens, owns lights, and owns video. Why did we buy our own toys? Because we partnered up with our partners, brands like Roy and these guys, and we feedback on what is specific we want on the tiles, on the videos. We were part of the development of the Vanish and many other Roy tiles. And so yeah, this is one of the shows, and part of the creative direction was to use the transparency of the screen as part of the show and part of the magic. He loves Cirque du Soleil, so I think we wanted to bring that to this urban music. So this was part of his intro. I'm going to play a little bit part of the intro. This is from my phone, but I thought it was important for you guys to see how iconic this was. He landed in a big plane, but just how it felt in the audience was amazing. And all the rig of this tour was behind the screen. So it was a clean screen, all the lights and the audio, important because it wasn't very common, was behind the screen. Having the right product is so important. You get those blacks the right way. That black sheep is important to create things like this. The right program is important. So having control of all areas is not because we want to, be the next Fourth World PRG. They're amazing partners to us. And we complete each other. Actually, Fourth World is part of a vendor for lighting, but it allows us to practice. And our designers, it's like they have their toys at home, So I want to get to the end of this a little bit.
Los tiburones locos
these are some other pictures for the show. We had some wagons in the bottom that while you were seeing all of that programming, all those wagons weren't there. They were being pushed forward for this moment, which is after the intro. So, so like the quality of the product is key to us because of what we're thinking creatively, okay? This is another moment. We have our B stage coming down, and this was designed by Rodriguez in, of course, engineering. All those lasers were hitting an angle specific in a mirror, and then so they don't kill people. But the people were underneath, so that your point of view, you were able to be underneath him and still see the show beautifully while he was singing very close to you and going across. And of course, we had to have some magic moments in content. I think we wanted to just create very iconic, more than just very busy content, pictures that people will remember. This is another example how we used our transparency, like girls, the dancers will be behind the screens composing, a specific, if you see the line with the lighting being specifically there. So it's handcrafted, like my friend Felix would say. It's a handcrafted work. See the balance between our layers. If we go back to our layers in my brain, you see Pyro, you see the artist, you see the content, but you see the layer of lighting perfectly balanced with video. You need to acknowledge that you're not the only layer, there's many layers, and we're not more or less important. So it's important to balance it out, not because you come from video, you really just deliver 100% and you don't care what's going on the rest of the stage. That's super important. I think that's why we get along very well in all those departments, not because we provide them too, but because we know that video is just another layer on the stage. Another moment that we created for him. Moments. It's the same stage, and it's amazing how content will give you scenic when you don't have scenic, in moments that you will remember with depth and tricks visually. Generate ideas that can be used in problem solving. It's not so much about the tools that you have, but what you can accomplish with them. As you see, screens are screens. As you saw, it was a flat screen, all of that you just saw. For creativity and having, of course, the right tool. And this is my last project. I'm just going to browse real quick. So this is an award show. We do a lot of award shows. This also had, as you can see in the corners on the wings, our Vanish product. And so it was perfectly balanced, more elegant. And this beautiful stage designed by Bruce Rogers. What you see, all of it in the back, is a flat screen. It's a completely flat screen. So a little bit of evolution in content as well. And part of our studies is that is now digital art direction, is now digital architecture. So we need to study that, and we're implementing it a lot, and it's part of our style as well. We like to keep the layer of video more appealing, being like iconic than just crazy. There's different audiences for that, especially broadcast. This is the same stage, just looking completely different. Same stage with virtual props. Same stage, completely different. Even the smoke is actually fake. But another performance, it's by Eminem. Judas Priest. This is a perfect balance. If you see in the holes on the top, all of those little dots are lighting going through the video. So that negative space in the architecture and video was on purpose and was, talked as a team with the lighting department to be able to accomplish that and work together beautifully as two different layers. Another one on the stage. And the last thing I want to say about this is that I think the main reason why we're all here is to, like Laura said, push forward and become more human. That's why I try to make my speech very realistic for where I come from and our motto. But this show got just nominated for an Emmy. And I want to show you because it's a very honor for Alan Branton to include us on the show. This is the 4th year now. But I'm listed as a lighting director. And I am not a lighting director. But guess what? There's no name for what I do. in video. There's no name for what we do in video. It doesn't exist on the Emmys. So that's a reality check. That's how I wanted to close my presentation, because I think we need to keep doing more framework, keep talking, keep pushing, keep understanding that we're not the only layer, because I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't neglect this area, because it's kind of like, they come in and they just blah, 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 because it is 80% of what you see in the canvas on television. So you need to be cautious. You can't think about just Unreal and your craziness and do that. No, you gotta understand where is that being delivered and how, and what layer is playing on the final picture. So yeah, this is the show. And last but not least, of course, our team, because I'm representing a lot of people back home, and without them, we wouldn't even be here. And I think I value so much that that's the reason why we keep moving forward, and there's no fear in our creativity. So kudos to a bunch of people that I love. And we always say in the office, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. So if you don't have a team, find one, find a friend. If you're new to this, getting out of college, it can happen, Like we started that way, and look who we are. And if you are a minority, like us, and if you're Latino, or if in my choice, keep dreaming, because, being technically correct is a universal language. So it doesn't matter what language you speak, okay? If you know the technicals, you know the technicals. And as a woman too, because I'm sure white and Latina. So standing there and being strong for my beliefs when I have these meetings is I do my homework. So you gotta be very secure of what you say. Don't just wish for it, work for it. Stay humble. That's our motto as well.
I just thank you so much. That was absolutely, absolutely beautiful. And I'm actually kicking myself right now because I feel like I should have offered you the opportunity to present in Spanish, because we want to be part of that wider international community. So maybe we'll do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's important that you understand that if you're gonna, get into the business, you need to also understand that it is gonna be a business where only English is speaking. So.
That's very true.
Yes.
So thank you for enduring presenting in second language. That's all just another layer of the challenge. I'll open it up for questions.
Really beautiful work. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you.
I'm Soren. My question, congratulations on your Emmy nomination for a role that you didn't play. My question, I have a lot of questions, but I think my first one, or most important one, is if the Emmys were to introduce a new category for the work that you do, what would that be called?
If it was for that show in particular, where we did just video, I would say video content designer. I wouldn't say video content or screens producer, because I feel that it is part of our team. Like, we have screens producer within our team, but my role is to actually design and direct creatively within video. So I would say the same way that we have the team on lighting, that we have a lighting designer, we do have that amount of people, and in the future, the same way you have gaffers, lighting directors, it's the same way that you're gonna have lighting, video designer, video producers, programmers, so and so, which is a reality, just doesn't have a name yet. So I would say video content designer.
Thank you. I think an important part of the work that Framework can bring to the industry is introducing these titles to an antiquated system. I have one more question, if I may. For the Olympics in Tokyo, in the other room we were just talking about innovation and risk, and that was a big pushing of the envelope to go live in that way. And I'm just curious, could you tell us a bit about the process to get to that point? Did the client know they wanted that and you had the challenge to deliver it, or was it something that you were pushing for creatively and had to sell?
I think in the pandemic was like the big thing. So our first opportunity with XR was actually for an award show, a Lion Award show, Premios Juventud, with an artist. And we're lucky to now at Dharma be able to do creative direction of the actual show. I think that's not very common on like companies. You know, you'll have the creative director that comes with the artist, but you know, we've gotten to that point where there are some artists that have reached out directly and want us to be their creative director and, you know, develop their show. So we had that opportunity with one of the clients, and we put up his performance on television, which it was actually the first one, because back then it was only the Katy Perry for like Idol, but for an award show itself, it was this performance for Ozuna. And so we used that as a, you know, as a backup to show how can we, you know, bring this technology. And because they were not going to travel anybody to Tokyo, so we thought, hey, fits well. We broke it down into very simple wording and explanations and graphics, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, here.
Hello, hello. Hi, I'm Tito Sabatini from Brazil.
Hey.
And back in the day, I want to thank Laura and everybody from Framework to bring you here, because back in the day, in 2012, I wanted to be Dharma when I opened my studio in Brazil. And a couple years later, Chris Bird and Shannon Harvey invited me to be D3 Studio in Brazil. And I was like, man, I'm going to be part of this club. That Dharma and those people around the world. So it was kind of, I'm doing something right. And thank you for all the good work. And I'm really glad to meet you in person and talk to you. And I didn't know you were from Venezuela. I thought you were from Mexico. So it's
Well, the founder, which is my husband now, you probably know why I marry him. We have a lot in common.
yeah.
He's from Mexico. So the founder and the foundation of Dharma is in Mexico. Now we have some Venezuelans. So you would say Mexicans and Venezuelans and just international.
Yeah, and some years ago, we started to work with Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards.
Yeah.
Then I get tons of After Effects collect project from Dharma to
yes.
remake it to our stages. So
Yeah.
it's really, really amazing to meet
Yeah,
you
when
here.
when you push and you do the right things, you know, sometimes you can be looked at, oh my God, they're so intense, they're so geek. But that's gonna get you places. Some people have it very easy. They're already here, they're already in LA, they already have like the tools. I mean, you see their curriculums and like, my first job was Disney. I'm like, oh my God, I would have dreamed at that age, you know? So we do have it in a different way, but you know, if you do it right, you know, you get places. That show, Nickelodeon, they picked one company to do in Abu Dhabi, and we won for to put the actual production design. So we actually took that show to Abu Dhabi. It was the first award show in Abu Dhabi. So yeah.
I think we
Thank you.
can sneak
Congratulations.
in one more question. We're at time if anybody else. Otherwise, I invite you to find Bianca while we're here for the rest of the day. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Laura.